Today I want to go over a certain type of circle problem that comes up on the SAT a lot. I have found that it kind of throws a bunch of concepts together, which is something that trips students up sometimes. The SAT doesn't bring up any new topics that students haven't already learned at some point, but it does that. It throws things together. It also brings up things that maybe students haven't covered in a couple of years, or things that have just become so automatic that they don't really have to think about them, and the SAT loves to make people think. This particular problem will use the area formula for a circle. The formulas for the area and the circumference will be on your formula sheet, so you don't necessarily have to memorize them, although the more familiar you are with the formula sheet, the less you'll have to flip back and forth when you need to use the formulas. So it might take you a little bit of time to know some of them, or to at least just be really familiar with them. So we're going to look at this circle here. It's got a triangle inscribed, as you can see. The center of the circle is this point A. It's not drawn to scale. And they've told us this angle is 45 degrees and the area is 25 pi. So what they're asking here is, what is the length of side BC? So they want to know the length of this line segment here, connecting the legs of the triangle. So if we want to know this, we need some other information, right? So if we look at these two sides, AB and AC, they both start in the center of the circle and they touch the circumference. That's the definition of a radius. So these are both radii of the circle. If they're radii, that means they're the same length, because the radius will be the same all the way around the circle. Since they're the same length, it makes this an isosceles triangle, which means that these two angles will also be the same. So this angle will also be 45 degrees, and if these two are 45, they have to add up to 180, so this one will be 90. We've got a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, which is a special right triangle. The special right triangle rules will also be on your formula sheet, so again, you don't need to memorize them. I always have a terrible time trying to remember them, but do be familiar with them and do remember that they're there so that you can use them to help you save some time on questions like these. In this case, you could also use the Pythagorean theorem, but you might take a little time with the special right triangle rules if you remember to do that. So now that we know that these two sides are both radii, how should we find out their actual length so that we can use the special right triangle rules or the Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse? If we take this area that they've given us, we can solve for the radius. So if we do that, we can set the area, 25 pi, equal to the area formula, pi r squared. If we divide both sides by pi to solve for r, we would get 25 equals r squared, and then we can take the square root of both sides to get r, which would be 5. So if we know that the radius is 5, then these sides are both 5. Then we can use our special right triangle rules or the Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse. So if we remember the special right triangle rules, the ratio of the sides of a 45, 45, 90 triangle will be 1 to 1 to the square root of 2. So in this case, it would be 5 to 5 to 5 times the square root of 2. So the hypotenuse would be 5 times the square root of 2. That would be our answer. You could also use the Pythagorean theorem, like I mentioned. In that case, you would square both sides and add them together. So you would have 5 squared plus 5 squared, 25 plus 25 equals 50, and then you would need to take the square root to get the length of the hypotenuse. So if you did that, you would get the square root of 50 would be equivalent to 5 times the square root of 2. So this question looks a little scary. It looks like you don't have a lot of information to start off with, but it's really not so bad once you kind of think through the steps and have the tools that you need to get to the answer. So I hope this was helpful.